What's up, Banter fam? I hope you are having a lovely morning. In today's video, we will be going over an altcoin that I think has huge potential to potentially become a top 10 coin one day. And we're going to be breaking down how to stake it, how to get involved to become profitable. And I think it's going to be a really awesome show. We're going to go through the market. We're going to have a look at what is developing in DeFi at the moment. And at the end of the show, I'm going to be giving away an NFT to one of you lucky winners. Let's get straight into it. So right now we are seeing some nice positive price action from the Bitcoin price. We've come up from these lows of 38K to 43K now, and we are still in this range, but we are pushing towards the top of the range at the moment. Remember, 46K is still the key level that I have my eye on. In order to be successful with this breakout, we still need to test 46K before we can push up to the further upside at 55K. So we're still in this range at the moment. We've been ranging for a little while now, but it's nice to see some volume finally kick in for Bitcoin as we get this push up to 43K. Could today be the day where we finally come up and test the 45 to 46K region? Possibly, but I am liking that at least we are getting a little bit of strength. Obviously, a lot of this strength has been driven by Luna and their Bitcoin purchases, which has kicked off somewhat of an interesting discussion about Bitcoin as a monetary standard in crypto and for crypto projects. So it's nice to see some volume coming in. And this is a potential scenario. I'm not saying it'll happen, but it's a potential scenario for a breakout. If we can push up above the 46K region, potentially how we would get back to kind of an all-time high scenario. Obviously, there is a lot of macro uncertainty right now. So I don't want to come on and say that I'm expecting this to happen right away. There's obviously further downside. We still have that 35K level. And of course, if we look further down, the 30K level has been a previous level of support. So there's always potential we come down and test. But right now we are still ranging in this kind of channel between 37K and 45K. Can we get a breakout and push to 55K? That is really the level we are looking for at the moment. But the Bitcoin dominance continues to go down. We have seen a decline of 2% in the Bitcoin dominance over the last week. And that is off the back of some nice strength coming in for altcoins. So we are seeing the dominance come down despite some positive price action from Bitcoin. That suggests to me that alts are still strong and that the power is still with the alts at the moment. But I am looking to see a slight push up in this dominance because typically when we get these cycles, we want to see some nice volume coming in for Bitcoin. And I wouldn't mind seeing that the dominance push up alongside Bitcoin, because typically that is an indicator of a healthy market. So as long, although the dominance is coming down, and this is showing that alts are still relatively strong, obviously we've had this slope down over the past few weeks, I still do want to see at some point Bitcoin really rip to the upside in terms of Bitcoin dominance, because we can see this has just been a downwards trend over a long time, and we're almost testing the lows here for the Bitcoin dominance. So the market loves the alts at the moment. It's loved the alts for a long time. There's no surprise why, but yeah, even though the Bitcoin price is pushing up, the dominance is down once again in this market. But there is one big reason for this. And the big reason is this Ethereum breakout that we just got. So Ethereum did break its out of its downwards trend that it's been in for quite a while. And this is off the back of the merger, the merge news that we are getting, that Ethereum is going to be merging to its new tokenomics in June. So that is very exciting for Ethereum holders. We've been waiting a long time for this major upgrade where Ethereum is going to cut 90% of the daily emissions from 12,000 Ethereum a day to 1,280 Ethereum a day, with yearly inflation down from 4.3% to 0.43%, which is the equivalent of 3 halvings at once. So it's going to be quite a significant cut to the Ethereum emissions, which will obviously be great for Ethereum holders. So that's why we are seeing a bit of hype right now building. I'm seeing a lot of Twitter posts, a lot of discussion around Ethereum potentially being a top performer this year. And I can see why, because Ethereum has been kind of ranging for quite some time. It hasn't shown much strength over the past few months. So to finally get this breakout on the Ethereum pair is nice to see as well. One thing to note is that Ethereum isn't going to be solving the gas fee issue straight away. So this merge is mainly in relation to the tokenomics. They are still working on a solution which will mostly be conducted by sharding to be able to make the Ethereum gases decrease over time. But we have seen the gas fee significantly decline over the past few weeks, which is a good sign. But that's probably a reflection of market conditions. Let's have a look at CoinGecko though, because there are some major movers in this market right now. We've seen ADA of all coins pushing up 18%. Probably largely because ADA hasn't moved in so long, so it was really due for a breakout. It was basically a stable coin, hovering around $1 for quite some time. So that has broken out. We're seeing lovely strength with some of these bigger alts like Solana. And remember, the Bitcoin price is only up 2% for the day. So some of these major alts are still continuing to outperform the market right now. We've seen DOT up 3.5%. Dogecoin up 11%, and also some of these other alts are showing a lot of strength. The L1 strength is still here. So despite the Ethereum merge coming through soon, and a lot of people were kind of questioning whether this would hurt other L1s, we aren't seeing that reflected in the market because obviously some of these major L1s like Algo 5.5% still showing some strength. We even have Phantom up 4.2%, which is nice today to get a little bit of volume coming into this market. So before we get into any of the juicy stuff related to ThorChain, which I do want to talk about and show you guys why I think it is a massive narrative and could be very beneficial for holders, I do first want to go through some big changes that happened on Trader Joe. We know Trader Joe, it's one of my favorite DeFi protocols, and it's offering some great staking rewards. So I do want to go through these changes quickly, and then we'll get into the juicy stuff and bring on Drake for some ThorChain talk. But let's talk about Trader Joe for now, because they did just deploy their veJOE model, which is basically shifting away from, well, they're still having SJOE as a way to stake and earn yield, but they do want to now incentivize people locking up the token. Because the big issue with Joe was that they were emitting a lot of tokens. So they were diluting the total supply onto the market, but there wasn't enough deflationary tokenomics or locking tokenomics to enable the Joe price to stay steady. So it did decline over a period of time from the highs of 480 all the way down to 60 cents. So the team is working hard on introducing better tokenomics for Joe, and this is where we get the veJOE staking from. So if you guys don't know, Joe is the main DEX on Avalanche, and right now you can stake it for 35.4% under the stake pool here on the Trader Joe website. veJOE, however, is a place where you can stake your Joe to earn veJOE. Now, by staking your Joe to earn veJOE, you're not earning extra additional yield in and of itself, but what you are doing is you're accumulating veJOE tokens. And what these tokens allow you to do is boost pools under the boost section of the farm page. So this will increase your APR relative to the normal non-boosted farms. So pretty much the more veJOE you have, so if you stake your Joe for veJOE, the more your yield, the more your Joe yield is likely to be on these boosted farms. So I'll give you an example of this here. They're going to have, and there's all this maths to break it down, but they break it down on the official documents here, how much you're actually boosting your rewards. And if we look at the stats here, it does look like it will be very beneficial for the people that get in early and start stacking veJOE, because the more you have, the more you can boost these farms. I'll show you how to do that now. So if you stake your Joe for veJOE, and then obviously you start accruing veJOE over time, you can come into the farm tab and click on boost. And these boosted farms are all the farms that you actually get a boosted reward for. So the more veJOE you hold, the more you can boost these farms. And we are seeing some of the APRs absolutely massive, like 102% for AVAX Joe, 76% for Joe USDC, and you could boost those additionally if you have veJOE. I just want to note that if you do unstake your Joe, you lose all your veJOE. So there's no lockup time. There's no kind of convex model where there's like a 12-week lock. You can withdraw your coins at any time, but you have to note that when you withdraw, you do lose the boost. So the reason that Trader Joe has introduced this is to become, have better tokenomics and introduce a more interesting mechanism to be able to conduct staking on Joe, because at the moment, they were kind of just emitting tokens nonstop. Now there is more of an incentive to stake and lock up the tokens, which will reduce the circulating supply in the market. So that is a very good step for the Trader Joe platform. And I think veJOE is a nice feature, and we've been waiting for a while to get that. So it's good to see that coming in. But let's talk about the main event of the show. Obviously, that is ThorChain. If we go through DeFi Llama, we can see that ThorChain has had a really explosive run, up 90% for the month in terms of TVL and up 38% for the week in terms of TVL. Even today, it's up 3%. So it's still continuing to lead the pack in terms of TVL growth. And we've seen a lot of people wanting to get involved with these new pools because it's very enticing and advantageous to do so because of the very high APRs. In this video, we'll be showing you how to stake and how to benefit from those APRs. But first, I want to just explain what ThorChain actually does really quick, and then we'll get Drake on to give you some more details. So firstly, I just want to explain the problem that Rune is trying to solve. So we all know the future is multi-chain. So we want to have multiple different layer ones all working interoperably with each other. But in order to facilitate this, we do need to be able to swap cross-chain in the most secure manner possible. And the problem right now is that most dexes do sacrifice security when you swap. So if you swap on a traditional dex, what will happen is they will use wrapping and routing through various tokens in order to approve a transaction. So you're not actually keeping full custody of all your assets. You're actually kind of getting wrapped assets, and you're also losing out a little bit of efficiency that way. What Rune is doing and what they want to fix is essentially enabling you to keep custody of your assets when swapping. So if you, for example, wanted to swap from Bitcoin to Ethereum, what Rune would do is it would trade your Bitcoin for Rune in the Rune pool, and then it would swap that Rune back for Ethereum, and you can take out your ETH on the other side. So you don't actually lose custody of your assets when you swap through ThorChain. And that's why I think it's such a big narrative, because if we are truly entering a multi-chain future, we're going to need protocols that have enhanced security when facilitating cross-chain swaps. And that is a major advantage of Rune, and it's really the only DEX out there that is doing this at the moment. If you don't know what ThorChain is, it's basically its own chain. So it's not just a DEX. It has its own DEXs like ThorSwap, but it's its own chain, and you use that chain to facilitate cross-chain swaps. They do this by maintaining one-to-one peg in the pools. So every time you deposit an asset into ThorChain, you do want to maintain a one-to-one peg. For example, if you deposit Bitcoin, it's going to need one equivalent amount of Rune to pair with that Bitcoin. And that is how they facilitate through the reserve this swapping function. But let's get Drake onto the show because he is the ThorChain expert. I've seen him doing a lot of great commentary on Twitter covering ThorChain. I've got his Twitter link in the description if you want to check out his stuff. He's been covering ThorChain really well over the past few weeks. So let's get him on to talk more about Rune. How's it going, Drake?
Miles, what's up, man? I appreciate you having me on the channel. I wouldn't say I'm the expert, but I do appreciate the kind words, sir. So,
I mean, you
go
are the
ahead.
expert, bro. You've been doing some great coverage, and I really liked these spaces you did the other day with Prof on DeFi Underground. I think you had some great insights into Rune and how it works.
Awesome. I appreciate the kind words, sir. So again, I want to sum up what you mentioned about the $1 to $3. Well, not you didn't mention, but you mentioned it was 50-50. I actually want to add on top of that. There is a formula for ThorChain. I made a thread on it, but it looks like you have a tweet right there.
I quoted you.
Yeah, believe it or not, this is actually the minimum. So like you deposit $1 into ThorChain, it will juice the market cap by $3. There's always a speculative multiplier. If you saw on DeFi Llama, people will record or rewind and see that. The speculative multiplier right now is actually 8.7 because the price is actually 8.7 times what the TVL is. This is your speculative multiplier, and this is other people purchasing the Rune asset. So ThorChain has some really interesting tokenomics to where the minimum, just bare minimum, like this was even after the hack, it was 3.44 times the actual amount. So it had a speculative multiplier. Now, let's just give a theoretical example, and then I'll get into some strategies you guys can use. Let's just say 1% of Bitcoin enters into ThorChain. If 1% of Bitcoin, they actually have like a little tool you can use. If it stays at the exact same price, Bitcoin stays at the exact same price, let's just say 1% enters. The price of Rune, bare minimum, would go to $82.37. This is bare bones minimum. This is the $1 to $3. But right now it's trading at 8 times. So, I mean, if it's trading at 8 times, it's going to be like almost 300 bucks. Actually, it's going to be over 300. And now you're like, wait, 1% of Bitcoin will never enter DeFi. What's the market cap of rat Bitcoin? The market cap of rat Bitcoin is $12 billion. That's over 1% right there. Why are they wrapping their Bitcoin? Because they want DeFi. How? I mean, okay, that's the point I'm trying to make. So minimum, I mean, dude, it's like
crazy.
not financial advice, but it's up.
So just to
Okay.
explain to people kind of how that works. So every time you deposit $1 into Rune, could you just explain why you get the increase of $3? Some people might be a bit lost there.
Of course, of course. Okay, so all of these pools on ThorChain, they are an omni pool. So if you deposit Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, it doesn't matter. Whatever you deposit, it has to be paired 50-50 with Rune. So automatically what happens is 50% of your ETH, Bitcoin, whatever you can single side deposit if you want. If you go under the liquidity tab, you guys will be able to see you can actually deposit just a single asset. Any of them works. You can do Bitcoin, you can do Rune, or you can do both. It doesn't matter. But if you just do plain old Bitcoin or plain old ETH, whatever you use, it'll sell 50% of that into Rune and put that into the pool. So that's your first dollar. So if I deposit $100 in Bitcoin, it's going to sell $50 of it, put it into Rune, and put it in the pool. Now you're saying, wait, where in the world is the other $2 coming from? Well, these nodes, in order to validate, they have to have 2 times the amount in liquidity. So they're having to have $2. So like if you put up $1, they're having to put up $2. So if you deposit $100, they have to have $200 in Rune. So there's your $2 there, or $200 there, and then your $100 when you LP. That's the $1 to $3 model, or 1 to 3 times if you want to understand it like that.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty insane. So essentially, the more liquidity that's deposited into Rune, the price of Rune essentially exponentially increases, because the more total TVL you get, the more Rune needs to be in the pools to be able to pair one-to-one with these assets. So it's kind of like the more people that use ThorChain as a DEX, the more the Rune price increases. So it's got those inflationary tokenomics, but at the same time, like Terra, it can also work the opposite way. So if a lot of people exit Rune, then the Rune price would come down as well, right?
Okay, so it's really interesting to understand these flywheels, and especially with ThorFi coming out. I'll have a thread coming out on ThorFi, what's going to be really interesting. Let me just give you a quick couple of highlights. The first is interest-free loans, like no interest whatsoever. Second is 100% loan to value. So if I give out $100 in collateral, I can get a loan for $100. Like check this out. Look, remember, interest-free loans, 100% loan to value, and no liquidations. You want to check out the coolest strategy with this? If I lend out some Rune in Bitcoin, I'm long Rune in Bitcoin, but I can cash out and get stable coins. If it tanks, I don't have to pay it back. I already cashed out. I locked in my profits. If it 10x's, you know what? That's some cheap collateral to pay back. I'll pay back my loan. I'll get my LP tokens, and I'll be like, bruh, I just made a 10x no risk.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So like the strategies with that, there's no incentive to pull out. And with that, it's ThorFi is going to be interesting. But yes, that is the scenario. If people do decide to pull out, like withdraw their Bitcoin and take all that out, keep in mind when they do that, they're going to realize impermanent loss because they sold 50-50. So yes, the flywheels do work the opposite way, but as people pull out, the yields do go up. But in reality, the amount of Rune tokens that are in the treasury right now, they can pay out the impermanent loss. Like right
Yeah,
now.
so let's talk about the impermanent loss protection.
Okay.
So if you stake, you're basically, in fact, a better way would just be to go through maybe one of your favorite staking strategies, to be able to take advantage of the yields right now.
Okay. So gas fee wise, I wouldn't mess with ETH. I mean, the gas fees are cheap on ETH, but if you don't want to mess with, the best thing is to do either playing with the Bitcoin, you can play with Litecoin, you can play with BNB, And I'm not saying to LP with Litecoin and BNB. In fact, I'm
Mm,
just saying to use that as your cash in, because you can actually get Thor the Rune token on ThorSwap a lot cheaper than you can get it
mm,
on like KuCoin or Binance.
mm,
It's just trading at a different premium. I mean, obviously, on Binance and KuCoin, sure, you can lend it out over there, but not your keys, not your crypto. So when you come over onto a ThorSwap, there are 4 different strategies or 4 different plays you can make, just depending on your risk tolerance. The first one would be just simply buying Rune. You
mm.
can buy Rune. There's 0 impermanent loss to this, but you can't get a yield on it. Some people would like to get a yield, but I mean, dude, it's what you can do. Some people also like to have like no impermanent loss period. Just buying a Rune is going to be your way to go. Now, if you're like, okay, this is cool, but I got to earn a yield. I'm always antsy. I can't just sit there and twiddle my thumbs and do nothing. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. If you want to take a more risky position and earn a yield, pick a pair that's similar to Rune. It's very hard to
Mm,
find a pair similar to Rune. It's almost like Luna. It's like an Apex asset, but they have some Rune altcoins like Thor. They got X Rune. They also have X DeFi. Those are different tokens that are on the ThorChain ecosystem. These are
yep.
actually the native assets. And you can pair 50-50 with these. Typically, when Rune goes up, these assets go up. Actually, they usually go up more. So you will
Mm,
see a little bit more impermanent loss to the Thor token itself or the XDeFi token, just whichever one you're pairing with. But keep
mm.
in mind, it works the opposite way as well. Rune goes down 2%. These usually go down a lot more. I like Thor and XDeFi. Both of these have Thor has an interesting value capture mechanism because it's actually getting 75% of the swap fees that are on ThorSwap. And I see ThorChain just having this reflexive flywheel that's going up more and more. And ThorSwap is like the main swapper on the ThorChain ecosystem. So I see a lot of volume on this. I see this as like the Uniswap and the main
So
Bitcoiners.
you'd be purchasing if you did want a slightly riskier strategy, you think maybe purchasing some of these alts like the Thor token and then coming in and depositing equal with Rune or single-sided depositing Thor?
Ah, man, you're gonna dilute my yields. You can actually stake Thor.
Yeah, okay.
You can stake Thor and you can get about 85%. But that is the old uber degen, the most risky strategy because you're
Okay, okay.
taking your risk is now Bitcoin pumps, you're good.
Mm,
Rune pumps, okay, we're good. Thor
mm,
should pump. It's not a guaranteed though, 1-to-1, because we saw that worked out with Pangolin and Trader Joe on Avalanche. Like
yeah.
Joe took off to the moon and Pangolin was like, what the snap? I'm staying here on Earth. And it was like, no, this isn't good.
So
Um,
would you be depositing maybe stables because BUSD 66%, USDC 32%. Obviously, that is paired with Rune, so there's impermanent loss. But is that maybe a strategy people could use?
Now, stables, that was the one to where it's like, hey, I like ThorChain. I don't believe in it. I don't think it's going to be the best, but I do like this yield. This is where your sauce is going to be at. And let me
Mm,
explain why. The best strategy, in my opinion, you can use if you're still trying to understand ThorChain and trying to understand it, is a tranche strategy. What's a tranche strategy? Okay, so let's say you have $10,000 to invest. I'm just going to say I'm going to put 5K in Anchor because I just want to earn that sustainable yield and make sure at the end of the year I can get my money back in 6K. Yes, there is still a risk it goes to zero, but we're just going to give this theoretical example. So Anchor strategy 5K to 6K. We're solid, 20%. Now, the
yep.
other 5K, we're going to take this to ThorChain. Now, let's say Rune does a 10x. If we put 5K into that stablecoin pool, what will we have at the end of that? It would be $23,000 or $23,170. That's if Rune
Mm,
does a 10x. So at the end of the year, we would have turned that 10K into over 30K. Well, almost 30K. Now, let's say Rune does a 2x. Let's be reasonable and say Rune does a 2x. Now, oh, and by the way, 10x, remember what happens when the Bitcoin or when 1% of the Bitcoin supply goes in. Rune goes to about $83.
Yeah.
That's a 10x,
Could
by
be
the way, guys.
crazy.
So if all the
Yeah.
rat Bitcoin goes in. But anyways, if Rune does a 2x, then you get $11,340. So instead of turning that 10K into 12K, which is Anchor Protocol, you would actually now have almost 17K. So that is the second scenario. Now let's say Rune stays the same. Now you would have $8,500. So again, you turn 10,000 into 13,500. So you're still even more profitable than Anchor. Now let's say Rune gets cut in half, like goes down in price to like $3 or $4, whatever you want to call it. You're actually still going to be more profitable than Anchor. You would walk out with $6,500. So this is 12,500. Now let's say Rune goes to zero. Well, then you get $0. Now, if it goes to zero and you get $0, did you really lose everything? No, you used the tranche strategy. So actually, you only lost $4,000. You turned 10K to 6K or 10K to 6K. But the important thing to understand from this is Anchor Protocol caps your upside. The most you will ever make with Anchor is 12,000 bucks. But with the tranche strategy, your upside is unlimited. Now, I even was playing around with, you found the Thor yield app.
Yeah,
I was even playing. Yeah, okay, so do this. Price center. Okay, that's good. That's good. For the price prediction on Rune, put that to let's just be fun. Let's do $8,000 or let's do $1,000. Just a
$1,000 Rune.
Yeah, $1,000 Rune. Just call it $1,000 Rune. Now deposit method. Let's go to BUSD.
Yeah.
It says BUSD plus Rune. You got to click that down arrow.
Oh
yeah.
Yep.
All right. So now BUSD deposit. Let's do $5,000. You'd have 149K.
Wow.
You turn $5,000 into 149K. Remember, if you just did Anchor Protocol, your upside is 12,000 bucks. That's the most you will ever make. Period. What's your downside? Zero. You can lose everything. The most you will ever make is 12,000 bucks. Your downside is zero. With ThorChain, ThorSwap, the most you will ever make is, you could type as many zeros as you want on Rune, and you'll be like, okay, it's infinite upside. You can it's literally infinite upside, and your downside is what? Zero. But
so how does impermanent loss protection work?
Wait, I do want to add this disclaimer though. Don't go nuts in hand. Don't be like, let me throw everything in there, because if it goes to zero, you lose everything. But with the tranche strategy, you protect your downside, and you still have infinite upside. So keep that in mind. Now, what were you saying about impermanent?
A lot of people are asking about the impermanent loss protection on Rune, which can mitigate downside.
Okay, so impermanent loss protection kicks in after 100 days. And how this happens is, okay, so say I deposit tokens into ThorSwap. Now, let's say the Rune price is $8. My impermanent loss kicks in at the $8. So like I'm selling, let's say I deposit stablecoins, or let's keep it even at $10 Rune. I deposit $100 in stablecoins. It's going to give me 5 Rune and $50 in BUSD, whatever you want to call it. Now, if Rune goes to, I don't know, like $0, or not zero, but $1, that impermanent loss is, this is where the impermanent loss takes place. I'll just have a huge bag of Rune compared to BUSD. So what's going to happen is the Rune is going to pay out the difference. Like the treasury will pay out the difference in the spread.
Wow.
But you're getting a yield. So if you have a yield that actually takes place for that impermanent loss, then you'll just break even at that point. But you will still have a big bag of Rune, because remember, you bought the dip with the stables. But if it goes way up, well, then you just profited. And
so you're incentivized to hold for 100 days in these pools, because the impermanent loss will be paid out if it occurs. So it's pretty much no downside to taking part in these pools right now.
The downside you have is having a lower price Rune. So like you'll have more Rune, but if Rune is at a lower price, you will just have more Rune that's cheaper. Does that make sense?
So they won't. So will impermanent loss protection still kick in if Rune decreases in price, or is it only the upside?
No, it does it when it decreases in price. But that's what I'm trying to explain. Is like you will still see the impermanent loss, but it's not going to be like you're going to be made whole with stable coins. So you'll be made whole with Rune, but it's only going to be matched where your LP. Because remember, if you did $50 Rune, 5 Rune and $50 USDC, it's going, and say Rune goes way down, it's going to recompensate to where it's paired up. So you aren't going to have that full $100 when you walk away. You are still going to have some impermanent loss. So say a better example of this is if Rune is $10 when you have 5 Rune deposited and Rune goes to $5, instead of having $50, you'll walk away with 25. So theoretically, you'll have $25 in Rune and 25. Well, not 25 in Rune, but you'll have 25 in Rune, but you'll have more Rune and you'll have some stables.
So just to summarize, for people that want to get involved in this, there's like a few good plays. So the first play is simply holding Rune because you get exposure to the upside of this mechanism working. Obviously, more deposits, the higher price Rune goes. The second option is staking stables. So we've got BUSD is probably the best one. So you can earn that high yield and impermanent loss protection kicks in after 100 days. The next play is to buy and stake the ecosystem tokens. Where's the best place to stake Thor? How do you
can actually stake Thor right there. Yeah. So you can stake there, or you can do XDeFi. XDeFi is like a MetaMask play. And I see this as quote unquote we'll see if it replaces MetaMask. There's a lot of FUD recently with MetaMask blocking out of country. So I'm sure they're going to be looking for other wallet providers and having a decentralized one that's already has their token out. Because right now, MetaMask is centralized. They don't have a token. Some people can speculate on XDeFi, and you could stake right in the wallet.
So I guess that the question now is, and I've seen this question time and time again in the chat, and I'm sure a lot of people are thinking this, is it too late to buy ThorChain? I mean, it has almost 3x since its lows, 2.5x. Is it too late to get involved? And what would be your accumulation strategy for people that don't have exposure to one ThorChain or the ecosystem tokens?
So do this. Look at the market cap of Rune. You see here, it's 2.4 or 2.5 billion. Let's go to the market cap of Wrap Bitcoin. So just type in WBTC.
Yep.
It's about $12 billion. Now, remember the $1 to $3 TVL. Let's just say all those Wrap Bitcoin. Well, forget it. Let's just say half of the Wrap Bitcoin comes in. All these guys already admitted and said, hey, I want DeFi for my Bitcoin. So that's about $6 or $7 billion into Thor. Well, $6 billion into ThorChain. Remember, $1 to $1 to $3 minimum. Right now, it's trading at an 8.7 times speculative multiplier. We're just going to say 3 times. It's never been 3 times. This is just like the bare bone minimum. Well, what's 3 times 6? That's $18 billion in market cap.
Wow.
So
and that would send Rune to
let's see, 18. That would
what rank would it
about
be?
An 8x. That would be an 8x from here.
And that
not
almost
financial
puts
advice.
it in the
I'm
top
just doing
10.
the math.
That puts it around the AVAX dot range. So you saw the thumbnail of the video was top 10 Rune. Well, this is the scenario where it would get into the top 10. If we exclude the stables, it would be ranked number 8 in this scenario. I know it's wishful thinking, but we're just giving you a scenario for where it can happen. And yeah, that's kind of like the way it could happen. But would you be buying now though, even at $8 after a pump, or would you be waiting for a pullback?
Zoom out on the chart. Zoom out on the chart. So as you can see here, it's kind of, it already broke the downtrend it was having. If you could see the previous price action on ThorChain, the reason why it was pumping like that is because of this market cap formula that they have. More assets were being deposited. So the tokenomics of ThorChain, it's not that it has a choice. It's that these people are chasing these yields. And when people are grabbing these yields, it will spin this flywheel to where Rune has no choice but to go up as more assets are deposited. So it's like Luna. You don't have to specifically buy the Rune token. It just goes up because whether or not you know it, the token is being bought. If you aren't buying it, the protocol's buying it. If the protocol and you are not buying it, the nodes are buying it because more people
Mm,
are depositing. And then
it's
with
pretty crazy.
ThorFi coming out, it's going to be burning Rune. Because in order for people to get even more yields, like single-sided staking of Bitcoin or any of these other assets, it's going to be burning Rune.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
it's absolutely crazy. I think there's so much scope for growth. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on and kind of giving your thoughts on Rune. I mean, it's pretty mind-blowing stuff. And I know you're going to be doing a lot of threads in the future on this. So go and follow Drake, give him a follow, show him some love for coming onto the show for the first time. I really, really enjoyed hearing your explanation. I think there's massive scope for growth with Rune. Just be careful with your entries, guys. Don't ape in or go crazy. But definitely it's one that I am personally accumulating long term because I think it's great. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Hey, dude, I appreciate the opportunity. All smiles, Miles. It's good stuff, man.
Thank you. All smiles, Miles. Just before we end the show, I do have a giveaway to do now, guys. For being loyal followers, I'm going to be giving away an NFT. We have 2 SOLgods NFTs to give away. And we'll be giving it away within the next 24 hours. So if you want to win one of these NFTs, firstly, I think it's a really cool project. Some of the art here is amazing, and I'm a really big fan. They have a very strong community, and I think it's definitely one you want to get involved in. So to win, you just need to follow the Crypto Banter Twitter, the SOLgods Twitter, and make sure you're following myself as well. I am retweeting this on my Twitter. I'll do it right now. And you can go to my Twitter, check this out, get involved, and then go into the Crypto Banter website and comment much Honna on one of the latest posts on the Crypto Banter website. So yeah, this is on my Twitter now. Go and get involved in this giveaway because one of these NFTs is worth $2,000. So you have a chance to win essentially $2,000 if you enter this giveaway. So it's basically a no-brainer. It's free money if you win. So go and show SOLGod some love and enter this giveaway. Very nice of them to give us one of these NFTs to give away live on the show. I hope you enjoyed this show today. We covered a lot of stuff. We went pretty in depth with some of the Rune tokenomics. It's a pretty crazy protocol in terms of the flywheel effect that we are seeing play out. It's one of my favorite projects long term. One I am accumulating. I'm not going crazy and aping, as I said, but it's definitely one on the watch list because it has great fundamentals. And if the future is truly multi-chain, we could potentially see Rune be a top 20 or a top 10 project. I think that's not even that unreasonable to expect. Thank you guys so much for watching the show. Make sure you smash the like button if you enjoyed. I will see you in the next one. Peace out.